Okay, this is lesson 1. We'll be combining like terms, or basically integers. So I always start with same signs add, which are the negatives. So the same signs are, let me rewrite this. This is -1, -4, plus 5, minus 9, plus 8. And the same signs would be -1, -4, and -9. These are all same signs, so same signs will add. So 1 and 4 make 1 and 4 is 5, plus 9 more gives us 14. So this is a negative 14. Now the other numbers are all positive, so those signs are the same and can add. So 5 and 8 together makes a 13, so a positive 13, so we put that here. And then, now we have different signs, a negative 14, positive 13. Different signs subtract. So 14 and 13, when you subtract those, you're going to get 1. And lastly, bigger sign wins. The 14 is the bigger number and its sign is negative, so the negative will win. So this will be a -1. Next, let's look for same signs. The same signs will be a -1, a -9, and a -8. Those are same signs. So same signs add. 1 added to 9 is 10, plus 8 more is 18, so that's a -18. Now what's left over are all signs are positive, so positive 4 and positive 5. Same signs add, so we'll get a positive 9. Now these are different signs, -18 and positive 9, so different signs subtract. So 9 from 18 leaves 9, and the bigger sign always wins. Therefore, the 18's negative will win, making this a -9. Next. Okay, we're going to work on all the double signs. We're going to get rid of those first. So you have a double sign here, negative, negative. And the rule for double signs is that a negative, negative becomes a positive. Okay, so this negative, negative becomes a positive 2. And the positive in front is understood, but I'll write it anyway, just so you can see it. But even if I don't write it, that's still a positive 2. Here we have a positive negative. Now when there's a positive negative, let's write that down. A positive negative combination ends up being just negative. So those two will turn into 1. So this will be a -5. And here we have a double negative again. Remember, two negatives multiplied gives you a positive. So this is now a positive 2. Now we have single signs here instead of double signs. Alright, so let's start off with our negatives first. So -5. There's no other same sign, so we'll just put that in front. -5. Now the 2 and the 2 here are all the same signs, so positive, positive. So same signs add, we'll get positive 4. Now these are different signs. -5 and 4, positive 4 are different signs, so you subtract. So 4 from 5 leaves 1. The bigger sign always wins, so the 5 is bigger, so its sign is negative, so the final answer is negative. Okay, here, this is a single sign, so -1 is okay. This is a positive and a negative. A positive and negative turns into one sign of a negative, so this is just -2. This is a double negative. Double negatives become positive, so this becomes a single positive with a 5. Another double negative, so that becomes a single positive with a 2. Now, let's do same signs add. Okay, these two are same signs, negative. So same signs will add. So 1 plus 2 gives us 3, or should I say -3, because -1 and -2 add up to -3. These are same signs as well, so a 5 and a 2 becomes 7. So let's put a plus and a 7. Now these are different signs. Different signs subtract. So 3 from a 7 leaves us 4. And the bigger sign always wins. The 7 is bigger, so the positive wins. So this is actually a positive 4. So I can write a positive there, or I can just leave it as a 4, and that'll be the same. Next, the -9 is good. Okay, that's not a double sign, so that's good. We have a positive and a negative here, so this will become one negative, 2. Here's a double negative, that'll become one positive, 5. Here's another double negative. They'll become 1 positive and a 3. Now, same signs are going to add, so we're going to put the negative 9 together with the negative 2. Those add up to negative 11. From there, we have same signs right here, positive, positive, so 5 and 3 add up to a positive 8. Now we have different signs, a negative 11, a positive 8. Different signs subtract, so when I subtract 8 and 11, I'll get a 3. And the bigger sign always wins. So the 11 is bigger, and its sign is negative. So this will be a negative 3. Now, we're going to be doing a little expansion here with powers. We have a 3 to the second power. When we have expansion, there's a couple ways we can do it. We can write this as, this tells you how many times to write this number with multiplication. So we can say 3 times 3. And then once you expand it, then you do the multiplication. 3 times 3 is 9. There are times that we will be expanding using a parentheses. So it's still the same problem. The parentheses still mean multiplication, just like the dot here. And you'll still get 9 there. So remember, we can expand using the number only or expand using parentheses. Sometimes we need the parentheses, sometimes we don't. So here, the 3 tells us that we need to write the base of 3 times. So this will be 3 times 3 times 3. That's the expansion of 3 to the third power. This tells you how many times to write this number with multiplication. Now, 3 times 3 is 9. So these two give us 9 times 3. And 9 times 3 gives us 27. Okay. Now, here we have a negative up front. Negatives up front are handled by changing those into a parentheses negative 1. So this goes from a negative 2 to the third power. Again, that negative there is turned into a negative 1 in parentheses. And then you have 2 to the third power. Once that's done, we're going to expand the 2 and write this 3 times. So what we have is a negative 1. And this is the time we're going to introduce the parentheses. Don't have to, but I like them. So what we have is a 1 times 2 times 2 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Now, depends on how many negatives you have. If you have one negative multiplying an entire problem, the final answer will be negative. There's only one negative, it's entire multiplication, so the final answer is negative. Okay, next. We have a negative 5 here. So we're going to write this as a negative 1. Remember that negative is on the outside, so it can be changed into a negative 1. And the 5 to the third power can be written as 5, 5, 5. Again, turn the first negative into a negative 1. And then use the power just on this number right here. And so what we have now is 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 5 is 125. So this becomes 125, and we're multiplying by one negative. So if you multiply by one negative in a problem, the answer is going to be negative. So it's negative 125. Now, this negative is not outside the parentheses, so we don't need our negative 1. So do not write a negative 1 for this one because the negative is inside. So this 3 tells us how many times to write this. We're going to write this negative 5, then another parentheses negative 5, and another parentheses negative 5. Now we're going to multiply these. 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 5 is 125. Now this time we're multiplying by 3 negatives. The rule for multiplying by 3 negatives is right here. That will give you a negative. So this will be a negative 125. Okay. This negative is inside the parentheses, so we don't need a negative 1. So we'll write this as negative 5, and then a second negative 5. This tells us to write it down twice. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25. And we're multiplying with 2 negatives. The rule for multiplying with 2 negatives is that you have a positive, or you can leave it blank. So we're going to leave this blank, and that'll mean positive 25. Okay. This last problem here has a negative on the outside. The negatives on the outside are turned into negative 1s. Okay. And then the negative 5 here with the second power, this is written twice right here. So we're going to write that twice. Negative 5 and then negative 5. So again, that negative up front was turned into a negative 1. Okay, so we got a 1 times 5 times 5. 1 times 5 is 5, and 5 times 5 is 25. So this is 25. And then we have 1, 2, 3 negatives. 3 negatives, according to the chart, will give us negative. So this is negative 25.